dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.
Yes, sir. What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. We got a great show for you this evening. Why? Because I said so, and it's typically the thing that happens over here, right? For those that are tuning in, the thing that I think that needs to be known is my purpose. My purpose in creating this platform is it was first to interview dads and let the world know that there are some outstanding dads out there that are taking care of their business. Then it transitioned to wanting to build families, and a part of that is making sure that people have solid marriages and relationships, and that really kind of spit into what it is now. And as you come along for the journey, or within the journey and along for the ride, know that we're going to give healthy conversations. There's going to be disagreements, but also there's going to be the goal ultimately is to make sure that you make proper decisions in your marriage building, relationship building process. And so with that being said, we're going to be talking about how to keep your marriage fresh. And I got that because there was a viral video of a guy. I can't remember his name. They call him I Ain't Fresh now. That's what his name is. But some ladies were like, you don't look good, basically, in what he had on. And the dude was matching. And he was like, I ain't fresh, in a befuddlement. And I'll try to see what's relevant and try to connect it to what we have going on the show. And so that made me think about, are marriages fresh, considering people are getting divorced, but and also being hesitant in being married. But there are some people out here doing a pretty good job at it and wanting to do it and are doing it. So let's talk about it. The question that we have at the start of the show is, what do you do when you hit a wall and lack motivation? What do you do when you hit a wall and lack motivation? And we're going to start with my homie, my friend, the Barry White of the show. Lost in translation. You know what I'm saying?
How are you?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
I am well. How about yourself, sir?
And I could complain, but it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it won't do no good. Trust me.
What you got?
So the question is, what do you do when you hit a wall and lack motivation at work? I have a one-on-one conversation with a friend. Sometimes, man, you lack motivation because there's something that's missing. You know what I mean? And sometimes talking to somebody one-on-one will actually ground you for why you're doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to break your focus a little bit and just get engaged with somebody else and let that wall come down. You know, a lot of times we don't get engaged in what we're doing is because our focus is broken thinking about something else. But in this particular situation, if you lack motivation, sometimes it's to get a perspective from fresh eyes from somebody else who's not even doing what you're doing, because sometimes they'll be appreciative and grateful for the stuff that they're doing, and that stuff will rub off on you. So that's where I usually get my motivation from, having a one-on-one conversation with somebody that's close.
That's what's up. Appreciate you as always, bro.
Thank you, sir.
And we're gonna welcome to the stage the one that didn't want to go first, so she'll be second. It's me, Jamie. What's going on?
What's going on? How are you?
Oh well.
You good? You good? Okay, so it says, what do you do when you hit a wall and lack motivation? So I'm a life coach, and actually I life coach myself. So I've recorded my why. And so when I lack the motivation to continue the why, or hit a brick wall, or just kind of tired of the redundance of things, then I just listen to my why.
That's what's up. Where do you record it at?
On my phone. Like I got a voice recorder, so I kind of just listen back to it. Just hit it like, okay, this is why you're doing this. You just having a moment, speak the word back to myself.
That's good stuff. Appreciate you for being here. Are you okay? You didn't go first. You went second.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it.
Right. And the person that didn't want to go first and now didn't go first, the other person said, I don't want to go first either. She been gone for a minute, but she back. Miss Tamia.
Hello. So I'm a life coach as well, like Jamie. And so I was gonna give my why, but I would say when I hit a brick wall, I have to pray about it. If I don't pray about it, then I lean on my own understanding, and my own understanding looks like chaos. So I definitely pray about it, and then I may seek counsel that I can trust, right? So go to somebody who sets an example of where I want to go or what I feel like I need to overcome, just to hear an actual testimony of, like, depending on what it is, testimony, experience of just like, it's been overcome, so while it is a brick wall, it's not impossible to get over. So yeah, pray about it. I think that was all in question.
That's what's up. Appreciate you for being here.
I'm happy to be here.
All right, it's a bit. Hey, we're gonna welcome somebody. The reason why I'm even in this space and doing this on a continuous basis. He been gone for a minute. Everybody know who he is in these streets. Give it up for Mr. Chicago.
What's the word, family?
What's going on, bro?
Maintaining, beloved. Maintaining.
What you got?
So what I do when I hit a wall and lack motivation, I keep it super simple, man. I remember the stuff that inspires me. I look for stuff around me. So, I'm big on art and stuff like that. So now that we moved into this house, I get
Let's go.
Yeah. I got some work to do in here, but now that we moved here, I get to look at my art, because before it was housed, you know what I'm saying? So now I get to put things in places and then just kind of retreat, recenter, you know what I'm saying? And focus, man. I journal a lot. So I just recall, the things that used to motivate me at one point that make me happy. There's a scripture. I don't know exactly where it says it. I'm not that good with the scriptures, right? But talks about how David encouraged himself in the Lord, right? So I just keep it super simple and go to the basics of that. And that's what motivates me to keep pushing.
That's what's up. Appreciate you being in the building, fam. I'm glad you didn't say nothing negative to me just yet. We'll probably wait for the show to start.
I'm trying to settle back in.
For sure. Hey, man. And one of the people that was requested didn't get to make it last week, but that's okay. She's back and she's blazing the trail for herself. Miss Ebony Ford in the building. What's good? You on mute. Ebony, you on mute. Can she hear me? Can y'all hear?
I can hear you, but we can't hear her.
I can hear you, but we can't hear her.
We can't hear you, Ebony. Okay, no worries. While she gets hers together, you ready? All right, cool. We'll bring up, hey, listen, I think prayer is a good thing and always a great thing. This young lady was out a little bit because due to the weather, and people was like, man, where's she at when she coming back? And I said, well, let me check. And she said, I got you. And she was putting down some real stuff the week that she came in. Give it up for Miss Naraya.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for being back. I'm glad to see that you're doing well.
Yeah, it was a rough one. So mine is twofold. So when I lack motivation in my personal life, I definitely pray, I fast, and I also seek inspiration from my husband because he knows how to refuel me when I need that. But on a professional realm, I have a mentor, and I try to surround myself around people who are where I want to be, so that they can keep me, on course of my goals. So that's what I do when I lack motivation.
That's what's up. Appreciate you being here. For me, I would say definitely go to the word, and I definitely talk to my homie Dwayne. We can and my other accountability partner, Des, and we talk about the things that's going on at the moment, and kind of go back to what Jamie says. What's the why? What's the purpose and what it is that you're doing? Because there's always going to be a bump in the hill, and sometimes a valley. But how do you work when the valley comes, and how do you work when the hills come? On late Kobe Bryant was saying that he tries to make sure that he's even keel. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. That way, he can handle things a lot better. So I try to do that, but that's hard. That's better. It's easier said than done. But that's something that I try to do to some degree. So we're gonna get into it. We have some people that'll be back here shortly, but we're gonna start the show off with a quick question. And it's around how to keep the marriage fresh. So let's talk about it like this. What does a fresh marriage look like? Right? What does a fresh marriage look like? Okay. We'll start with Chicago River.
Yeah, I should have been ready. I should have known. What does a fresh marriage look like? It's funny because I know the default answer, oh, that's different for different people. It depends, right? But there's subtleties that you see, right? Like when I see older couples holding hands, like you could tell that's a type of freshness and that they work on that to keep their marriage, to keep that connection. So I guess that's what I think a fresh marriage looks like. Like you're working to actively keep that connection, right? That bond, right? That you have with your partner, and never forgetting the reason why y'all got together in the first place. So I think that's what it looks like, working to keep that connection.
That's what's up. Good, short, sweet to the answer. Hey, who you got going next?
Man, let's go with Naraya. I want to hear what she got on.
Well, after being married for so many years, you have to be creative, right? So I think that for me, it's not being afraid to try new things, definitely spicing it up. Asking my husband, what does he want? Definitely we date still. We have to. I change my hair all the time, right? So I can be a different person so he doesn't get bored. So I have a million wigs in the house. So it's just different things I think that you can do to keep it fresh. And like you said, it depends on the person and what their needs are and what they're looking for. It's not a one size fit all. If you know that you're lacking sexually, then we need to do some things in that bedroom to spice it up. If it's because maybe I'm not in shape or I'm not appealing to like what I was before, then I got to keep it tight, keep it right. So it just really depends, on the person and the situation. And so I have, of course, my good sis Ebony going.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Y'all still can't hear me?
We can. We heard you laughing.
We can hear you now.
Good.
It was
My
a good
sister
mic.
told me 4 times, and I told her I was doing this, so I think it messed up my audio. So I'm back. Thank y'all. So sorry. Thank y'all for having me again. So Naraya hit on some stuff that I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about. Like when if we're not keeping ourselves up physically, like we want to say, my man is supposed to love my heart and my soul and my mind, and he is, and he will. But I do think we do have to keep it physically appealing as close as you can. You have kids, you get older, life is life. I get that. But just try to keep yourself appealing. And keeping yourself appealing doesn't necessarily only mean physical as well. But I mean, it is a part of it. Men are visual, right? And I do think that I think the sexual part
is very, very important. I am divorced, but it is not from a lack of me knowing that sex is a priority. So, but I also think beyond the sex and the physical, which is, I guess could be comparatively superficial, a man he just want to be at peace, man. He just wants you to be calm and agreeable and know how to pick your battles and know how to navigate life with him, because life be lifing with these kids and money and everything that's going on. He wants you to know how to pick your battles. I don't care where you put your man cave at. I'm your man cave. I don't care where you put your man cave at. That's nothing we gonna fight about. You know what I'm saying? So I think, again, sex is very important. It's a priority. Keeping yourself together as much as you can and just making yourself a place of peace for your husband.
That's good. Who you got going next?
I don't even know who's went.
Gorilla went. Mariah has went. Those are the two people that went this far.
I'm just jumping back in. Tamia, did Tamia go?
Mm-mm.
I didn't go. Thank you. Hi. So I mean, I'm 5 years married now. We're pretty young, so we still have had to find ways to keep it fresh. And I think what does that is also an understanding that your spouse is going to change. So having a flexible mind keeps a marriage fresh, because you're not holding on to like something from 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So just being very aware of how each of you are changing so that you can keep up with who your spouse is in this season. So whether that be sexually, emotionally, physically, body-wise, like if I'm looking at my husband, but I'm looking at the 19-year-old husband that I met, I'm not really serving him. If I have all the ideas of his 19-year-old self, he's now 27. So I have to see who he is at 27, what he needs at 27, because it's not the same. So I think just keeping up with your partner, keeping up with the new things you see them doing, the new interests they have, and then tend to that. And like Naraya said, I was going to say that as well. Try new things. Go someplace that you all have never been before, so you're both having a new experience. That way, if communication is lacking, conversation is lacking, if we're doing something we've never done before, we can talk. There's questions to be asked. So I think just experiencing new things together, dating a lot, but also realistically keeping up with how you and your partner are transitioning, so you know how to serve them wherever they are right now. And I have Jamie next.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
So I think everybody's given the answers that I would have given, except for the date night, or like just going out and intentionally dating each other continuously, especially when you have kids. And so that is, I have never been married, but when I was in my relationship, we did have what you call date nights. But we had, like for instance, we got this thing called the Adventure Challenge. I don't know if y'all have heard of that. It's so dope. So you like pick,
book?
Huh?
Is it a book or is it cards?
Yeah, it's a book, and you have to scratch off. Like you pick a page, but you have to scratch off because you don't know what the adventure is. You have until you scratch it off, and then you're like, it's either painting or, I think one time it was like go and make a right, and where you stop is where you guys get to do this activity at, right? So it's just, yeah, it's pretty dope. So incorporating that, because I think sometimes we're like, to keep it fresh, we don't have great ideas all the time, and so this book kind of helps you with the ideals, because it could get redundant, like going to dinner or something like that. And then they even have the addition for the family. So say you're stuck with the kids, but you still want to have your date night, you could still do an activity that incorporates your family. So just I'll put the link in there for y'all, because it was dope. Okay, and then next I'm gonna pick Lost.
Thank you, Jamie. One of the things that can keep a marriage fresh is making sure that you keep the wonderment and the joy in the relationship. And what I mean by that is making sure that you spend the one-on-one time that you really need. I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, if it's just you and your spouse or whatever, get on the roof, man, and look at stars, because sometimes we like to put too much stuff in between us, whether it be jobs, whether it be kids, whether it be bills. You know what I mean? You want to take that time out to reconnect with that person. You know what I'm saying? And check in to make sure that they're okay, and check in on each other's dreams from time to time. And that alone time that you need is one of those things that you keep it joyful. Don't forget to laugh, man. Don't forget to tickle each other. Don't forget to have a good time with each other. You know what I'm saying? That is a spark that keeps it going. Because a lot of times, man, we forget that we still have kids inside of us. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes you need to make sure that that person feels safe in their relationship, to let them know it's okay for it to come out every now and then and have some time and laugh and giggle. You know what I mean? And make your relationship fresh. Just check in from time to time. So those are some of the things you want to make sure you keep the wonderment and joy in your relationship.
That's good, man. That's, I think that works both ways, right? When we talk about the inner child in us, we
Right.
respond based on the inner child in us, even though we're supposed to be mature, right?
Right.
So, for example, the reason why I may respond negatively would be because of how I was raised or how I have been parented. But then also at the same time, the way that I respond to, like for me, my mom gave us gifts all the time, right? And so that became my love language. It don't even have to be a big gift. It'd be like when Kendra bring me some Sour Patch Kids, like I'm excited. You know what I'm saying? Just because she, here we go, Chicago. See, listen, I'm transparent. I'm not like you. You know what I'm saying? I don't got to hide from the world. You feel me?
No,
And
I
so,
just I know Sour Patch Kids are like a type of food. I know how excited you get to talk about food.
see, I knew we'd go. Listen, can I share with the people real quick? Because we got new people, right? We got new people on. So me and Chicago really have been knowing each other almost 2 years, right? And we was on a show together. But anyway, we came to, was it Houston? Okay, we did a live show in Houston with the LaPeeves Network, right? And so everywhere we went, I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 days, we had somewhere to go eat. And I didn't know that I was being watched. You know what I'm saying? About how much food I intake, right? I had no idea, right? So we get back on the show. Everybody's giving their rundown of what they enjoyed about the weekend, and here comes Chicago Rilla talking about to the world, because how many people? It was probably like 800 to 1,000 people watching at that particular point. He said, "Man, I just didn't know that Humble Dad eat like that." And then somebody said, "Pause." And so it became this whole thing. And then my wife, she does it now, all because of Rilla. And if you see in the feeds or in the threads or whatnot, in the comments, that Chicago Rilla always talking about has Humble Dad ate yet. So
Hilarious.
I said one thing Humble Dad gonna do. Humble Dad gonna eat.
That's exactly
Humble
What you
Dad
mean, Humble
definitely,
Dad? I'm sorry, sidebar. Never mind.
he definitely gonna eat.
Some
man,
weed.
that was so messed up. I didn't see it coming, but you did a good job, bro. I appreciate that. So everybody don't know that story, but that's the backstory to that. So nobody be left out of it. And I'm okay with laughing at myself. All right. So anyway, everybody has an inner child that needs to be that's how we respond based on the inner child in us. So I think that's a really good spin to talk about how keeping the fun, and then I think somebody said finding a new place to enjoy yourselves, right? And then Miss Mariah said, "Hey, change out the wigs." Hey, over out in the streets,
Okay.
they talking about they don't want women with wigs, bro. All right, it's like what? Okay, that you just don't want nothing, do you? Okay, so with that being said, I'm interested because you said some other things, but I'm interested into knowing what are some examples. Y'all talked about this. What are some examples of service for either men or women? Like, what does that look like? What
You
is
said
that look like? What are some examples of service for men or women? What does it look like?
Yo, you know what's I say this, I've said this before, right? One thing my wife does that's really dope is she pays attention to me, right? She will do things for me that I didn't know I needed done. You know what I mean? So when I first jumped on the network and was doing Thursdays, she just came out like, "Yo, I don't like your lighting. You need a ring light. Just bought me a ring light." You know what I'm saying? On GP. Or when I didn't have my headphones because I kept losing them, she was like, "Yo, you too loud. Here's some earbuds," right? just things that I don't know. Now, my love language is not gifts. It's not even acts of service. It's words of affirmation, right? But when she does stuff like that, I look at that as a service, and it's not a light thing to me. Like, that means the world that you thought you noticed that much, that you went out of your way to take care of a need that I didn't even know I had. You know,
That's what
I think people think that acts of service are these big grand gestures, and there's really not. It's just like Gorilla said, it's seeing me, knowing me, anticipating my needs, and those type of things speak volumes, versus you just buying me a car or buying me a house, right? There's really like no real thought in it. It is. She saw it was dark in there. He needed some light. She wanted him to look good, wanted him to be successful. Those types of things, I think, are acts of services that are great to be seen.
That's what's up. Anybody want to interject, or you want her to call on somebody? Go ahead, Ebony. I see you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, acts of service, like something about that term. Like, I could see a lot of people who are, immature, honestly, kind of looking down on that term, like service. I can see some young girl, I ain't gonna say no age or nothing like that, but like I can see them saying like something's wrong with that. That's just number one, first and foremost, an umbrella statement, just the wrong way to look at it. But I just see a lot of narrative. People don't want to serve, they don't want to submit, they don't want to do that, and that's just wrong, first and foremost. Second of all, I know a guy who's, he's very capable, he's successful, he has money, he has everything he needs, and he just wants stuff taken off of his plate. Like, he doesn't care if his woman gets in the kitchen and cooks per se, but he doesn't want to come home from work after he's tearing it up out there. Again, he's successful, he's doing well, and have to worry about what is going to be on the table. So for him, an act of service is just a woman taking something off his plate. He don't even care if he got to spend the money for it, because again, he has it. So again, I think men just want stuff taken off their plate. That's what I have heard. Now, for me, my love language is security. I like to feel secure, and I like to have a stable home. I like to feel safe and taken care of. And so an act of service would just be pouring into our household, pouring into our future, not just financially, but just investing in our household and our children and me and yourself, and just making sure that we're always, uplifted and on the up and up.
What's up? Who you got going next? And let somebody know. Oh, really? You gonna go?
No, I was gonna double dip real quick if I could.
We can have a dialogue. Every time you come in, we do something different. So
no, that was good preaching. And Ebony touched on just for the gentlemen in the chat. Please know and understand that your leadership is an act of service. Your leadership is an act of service. And Ebony, I won't, belabor the point, but just kind of, you laid it out perfect. You know what I mean? But just know and understand that if you're not ready to serve, you're definitely not ready to lead. And if you're not ready to serve, you're probably not ready to be married either.
Absolutely.
Yes. I want Lost to get a piece of this too. I want Lost to get in on this.
You know what? I learned a trick a long time ago, man. If you really want to watch a woman come unglued, shampoo her hair. Yeah. If the fellas have ever done that, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Because your woman normally don't let you see her hair. You know what I'm saying? They really don't. But in the event that you do, and you shampoo their hair, and you take time out to rub their scalp, I assure you, they will come unglued. That is a type of intimacy that people don't really talk about. You know what I mean? Because it's one-on-one care. It's there just for her. And she can basically let her hair down for those few moments and feel special. You know what I'm saying? And then vice versa. If a woman shampoos her husband's hair or scalp or whatever it may be, sometimes some folks are follically free. So, rub that scalp down. You know what I'm saying? That taking care of each other, is one of those things that we forget, man. We neglect. You know what I'm saying? And to give that personal attention is something that's rare, because you don't get it from the world. You don't get it from your kids. You don't get it from your job. But the place that you should get it should be from your spouse. So from time to time, take time with each other, man, to wash each other's hair. and enjoy each other's company. So I think that is one of the ways that you really, really can keep your marriage fresh, serving each other.
I ain't gonna double dip. Sorry.
You can go ahead.
I used to do that. Get in the shower. He washed my hair. I wash his. My hair is natural, and he would just marvel at my, my curl pattern and all that. Not in that kind of way, but just like you say, women they don't really all the time we don't let y'all see our hair because we got to keep it together. But yeah, I've actually done that, or kneel down, wash his feet, foot rub. Like literally, I love to serve. I really, really do. So that resonates with me.
Who you want to go next, Laus?
Let's go with Miss Taken since she just got here.
Oh yeah, we got to get Miss Taken in the building.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hi everyone. Give me the summary so I'll know what I'm answering.
So we currently are talking about the first part. We talked about what would you consider a fresh marriage? What does that look like? And then the transition to some services, or serving in some capacity is what individuals stated, but they said other things as well. But the thing that stuck out to me the most was them talking about the service. And so that led me to asking the question, what are some examples of service for either for men or for women, which led individuals to talk about washing people's scalps and rubbing feet.
And feet.
I like hair rubs.
Like both of them. I don't know where the S comes from, but okay. It is feet. Just you got it?
I ain't messing with nobody's feet. No, I'm just joking. I would if he asks. I've done it like maybe twice. I'm not a big foot person, but if he asks, I would. I'm definitely into head rubs. I like when he scratches my scalp like that. Oh my God, my eyes roll back. It's a done deal. It's a wrap. I would definitely say to keep a marriage fresh, I would say continue to date. And dating doesn't necessarily always mean you have to. I think it was Ebony or Naira. How do you say it? Naraya.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, when I came in, was saying it doesn't need to be a huge, grand gestures of things. But it is kind of in alignment with what's currently going on with my marriage now. Like my husband and I, like I had that conversation with him the other day about doing things outside of our normal routine. Because we both enjoy watching movies, but I just expressed to him that I feel like we're doing the easy thing. Like it's easy to just watch TV because we both enjoy doing it, but there are other times in which I want to go out and do things. And I was like, and it doesn't have to be where we're spending money or anything like that. It can be, babe, let's just go for a walk in the park, because I love holding his hand when we're out and about. So when we're like walking, I like, especially when he initiates the handhold as opposed to me reaching out. I love when he reaches back and grab my hand, things like that. And so after the conversation, the very next day, he just bought me a bouquet of flowers, just because he's like, which kind of made me like sentimental. I cried a little bit, but it was just because I felt heard, right? It was a matter of him saying, I hear you and I'm going to try, so I can appreciate that. But I think the keeping things new is not getting set in your routine. Like I know routines are necessary, but when you do something that's outside of the routine, I think that helps make it fresh.
That's what's up. Who you got going next?
I don't know who didn't go.
I want to say it's Jamie hasn't went.
Okay, Jamie.
Naraya, did you go, Naraya?
I did. I followed up off of Gorilla. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're just doing examples of like acts of service, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll give an example. So one weekend, he had a project on Saturday, and I normally don't work on Saturdays, but I helped him with his project. Okay. We were out all day and I didn't get to clean my house. Sundays are normally my work days. So I do hair on on Sundays all day. And so I was sitting in here, this is my she shed, doing hair. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to cook. I still got to do this. I got to put the laundry. I've got all these things to do. And so when I got done doing hair, I walked in the house and it was all done. And that was right. You know what I'm talking about, y'all? Where you walk in and you smell food, and then you go in, the laundry turns on, right?
Are you getting emotional?
I did. I didn't know what to do. I said, oh my God.
You're getting emotional like right now.
Yeah, because
you smell that laundry detergent. You smell that in the air. Yeah.
No, she said she smelled food. She smelled food. Her and Humble Dad is tight like this with the food.
Hey, you sure it wasn't a honey bun and some ginger ale, Jamie?
But he had it. He had it ready for after. That's what I'm saying. Like it was. I was taken aback. Seriously, because usually I still would do everything, and so for the first time I felt like, oh, okay, he thought about it. Like, oh no, she didn't really have time, and she's been standing on her feet all day. So that was, and I love acts of service. So acts of service is my love language. Like I get excited when somebody is doing like either their job or like something towards their goal. That does excite me. So like, or if they're helping me, acts of service, like, oh, you fixed this, thank you so much. That is my love language for sure.
That's what's up. So, hey, I'm sorry, did you finish?
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, okay. To me, it's on you. If you can.
I can. So I love acts of service as well. I love to see intentionality. So anything that my husband is more quiet than I am. So anytime I see him going above and beyond to voice his emotions or do something for me, that typically I'll have my hands full. We have 2 toddlers, so sometimes he'll like put them in the bath while I'm cooking dinner. So in my head, I'm like, I don't have to give 2 baths after this. So that is really, really kind. And then on my acts of service side, I like to make sure the house is clean, and that I'm at least in the process of making dinner, because we both work till about the same time. So at least I'm in the process of making dinner, and I like for him to come home and I'm actively like doing something instead of kind of just being on my butt, even if it means I heard the garage go up and I start running. So I was doing something. My acts of service, yeah, very much so. That's happened. I've heard the garage and I'm like, oh, wait, and I start like running around and doing stuff. But I like to just, like Ebony said, make life feel easier for him. Talk to him, hear him out. He has feelings too. So not just like ask, but also like be there for him as well. So yeah.
Did anybody have something to say? Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Taken.
Had a quick question. So is it the focus is the only love language being acts of service, or that just continue to come up?
No, it's really just around what does service look like,
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be, I guess it would fall in line under acts of service, but it doesn't have to be,
Okay. Well, I guess question, wouldn't, or technically I guess you guys can clarify, wouldn't just anything within a marriage be an act of service if you are engaged in your marriage? Because like if the goal is to make sure each other needs are met, I would think that the foundation of a marriage would be acts of service in and of itself.
I would say that it just being in, are you saying it's just being in the marriage or doing things, being active in the marriage?
Yeah, I'm saying being active and engaged in your marriage, because people are married but still operate independently within a marriage. So I'm saying if you're engaged in your marriage, wouldn't the foundation of marriage be acts of service in and of itself?
I'll look at it like this. Because everybody said, this is what I like, right? So if it's something that they're doing, if my wife is doing something that would be a service, but it's something that I don't see that it's, I guess, taking off my plate, since that's what y'all was kind of talking about, or if it makes me feel a certain type of way, yes, that is a service. However, it's not something that I'm necessarily clapping about or being excited about, right? But as you said, y'all said, well, if he scratches my head, oh man, I just get into a totally different space, right? But if he just, you're not a foot person, so if he washes your feet, it's an act of service, but it's not doing anything for you. You see what I'm saying? So I would say that the service needs to be, you're going to always do some type of service that just because it's a marriage, right? Things got to get done, right? And we don't always like to do certain things, but if you know that your spouse doesn't like something and you decide to, and you go ahead and do it for them, then you know that you're serving them well. Can I put it like that? That you're serve well is to do something for the other person that they don't want to do or would like for you to do. What y'all think?
The reason I asked that is because, like, I just think your day-to-day things that you do can sometimes be misconstrued as an act of service. Like, if my husband came home and he did the dishes or cleaned the kitchen or something like that, to me personally, that's not an act of service. I think that is just something that you do as an adult. You know what I'm saying? In general, I'll do the dishes, he'll do the dishes. Like, I was doing the laundry, he came home, he was like, nah, babe, I'll fold it. And I was like, nah, I got it. So we're going back and forth of who's going to finish the laundry, right? Because I think those are just certain things that, to keep the household running and functional, you just do it. You know, we want a clean house. Whereas I think it's more along the lines of what you're saying, intentionally doing something outside of those day-to-day things that you would, normally, run a house, clean the kitchen or cook or what have you, is the assumption that becomes my responsibility, like the cooking and the cleaning, and as opposed to it being a household responsibility, especially if both of us working, but we got kids, for him to say something like, I'm helping you out by doing the dishes. Like, I don't think you're helping me out per se. Like, that's just something that needs to be done. Is not automatically like, this is just your responsibility and yours alone. Is a partnership in the sense that we do what needs to get done to keep the household running, right? So for me, in terms of, if y'all were talking about like love languages, like mine is quality time and physical touch, right? So when he does something intentional about spending quality time, like how I said, like, let's go to the park and go walking, that is going to mean something more to me because I know time is limited, right? So you're going outside of what your normal routine is. If you're tired, you're just coming from work and you just want to chill, but instead you say, babe, let's go to the park. I know you're doing that for me because you would prefer to be in the house and just relax, right? So that's why I was just kind of trying to find a reading on what's really considered like acts of service, or, not getting mixed up with just things that you would normally do.
Well, it never matter. Like, over here, it's all of your perspective. It's all about how you want to frame, the conversation, so it's not necessarily being a right or wrong. It's your perspective. So that's how I look at it over here. What you got, Tamia?
I was going to say, just like what you were saying, like a perspective. That's why, like, we have love languages, because like what may work for you may not be for me. But I think the idea with acts of service is the intentionality behind it. So if for you, Mistaken, it's like, okay, I don't like, you don't like leaving the house, but today you said, let's go for a walk without me having to ask. That is a sense of serving you in a way outside of their norm. So I think it's like the intentionality that's behind it, that I'm thinking of doing this for you to lift something off your shoulder. Now, whether you receive it that way, like what Humble Dad was saying, like, feet may not be your thing. So if he goes and he rubs your feet, it's not like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. But if he rubbed your head and rubbing your head is your thing, then it feels like an act of service. So I think it has to do with perspective and just like what works for you. Because yes, we have our day-to-day things. But like for somebody like me, the dishes get washed. And I know that can feel like a crippling task after a full day of work. I teach all of these things. That feels like a very wonderful act of service. But if you like physical touch, then maybe the act of service was after you washed the dishes and you guys did your day-to-day experiences, then he took time to cuddle with you at night. That is still serving you as his spouse or as his partner. So I think it's just the intentionality behind it. In whatever sector your love language is, it's that thought of, I want to do that for you, which is service.
Miss Tamia, we heard that thunder rolling over all the way over here.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog.
Hanging on to a thread of this service.
Did anybody else
Can I
want
just
to
say something?
add?
Response to that. I also I agree with Tamia. I think it's subjective because for me and the way that my marriage is set up, we have clear roles of what's being done, right? This is my house, right? Like I clean, I cook, I decorate it, I work, he works. So when he does do the dishes, that is an act of service for me because that is how our marriage is set up. And that's the role that I play within my home. So it's really subjective to how your relationship is set up. Yes, if he lived on his own, he would do his own dishes, right? He's an adult, but he has a wife. And I chose to do certain things to make sure that the house can function a certain way so that he can function a certain kind of way. So that would be considered an act of service for me personally, if he did the dishes or cleaned the kitchen.
That's what's up. Anybody else want to get in on this?
Can I just respond to Ghetto?
Yeah. Oh, you talking about in the chat? You want to respond to the people in the
absolutely, because I just see a lot of what he's asking, and it's not just necessarily directed towards me. It's directed towards, the group about, he asked a question, when do my sisters stop being demanding? Things like that.
Why is that important to answer those type of
questions? No, mine specifically he said, is the protection of the house a 50-50 partnership as well. So my thing is I do agree, but don't agree with the 50-50. It depends on what it is. I do think it's 50-50 in regards to us both, or would you call it 100-100? I don't know. Giving to the household to make the household run efficiently, smoothly. So whatever the things that I may need to do, I'll do, and whatever things he needs to do, he'll do in order to make it run efficiently. But in terms of certain aspects within a marriage, there is a greater responsibility on him with certain things, whereas there's a greater responsibility on me with certain things. When it came to the kids, that was my primary role. I was the one that was, going to teacher conferences, making sure the kids' homework was done, those things. And so when you look at the protection aspect, that was his role. He did more of the aspect of that. So it's certain things that may just be more so his role or responsibility in mine, but it balances out because one of us is doing more in one aspect than the other. But yes, I do have my Glock upstairs. So when he does have to go downstairs, he tells me to stay upstairs and get that thing just in case. So
it is a 50-50. Yeah.
I say like 75-25. Go downstairs. He tells me to stay upstairs just in case. I'm the backup.
That's what's up. I think that it's good to have those conversations. I don't really like engaging with the chat because they'll get you off topic. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I understand that particular point of the question. So that's cool. So I think it's important for people to know what their roles are. So let's talk about that real quick. As y'all was saying that, especially Miss Noraya, being married, I think 27 years?
Almost 30, almost 30 years.
all those that say it can't be done. Shout out.
Black love.
Absolutely. So, how are, I think we had this conversation before. How are roles identified within a marriage? I'm gonna make that be the question, since that's what we're talking about. And I want to get some of the people that haven't had a moment to talk just yet. All right. What you got on it, Miss Jamie? What you think? How, even though you're not married, you've been in a relationship before. So how are the roles, or how would you like roles to be identified or presented to you within that relationship or marriage?
We had a clear discussion. So we had a talk. Like, I told him what I was raised to do, what I actually liked doing, and he discussed like what he saw in his household and what he envisioned, and luckily they meshed, right? And so we didn't have a problem. We were pretty cohesive in that, and it was a good flow. Like, he did all the outside work, or if something broken, he'd fix it. It would just kind of went. We did traditional roles, to be completely honest. When I sit back and look at it now, it was very traditional in the way that we operated. And because I like domesticated stuff, like I did that all day today. And so when my house was smelling like bleach, and the laundry was smelling all fresh in spring, and all that good stuff, I felt accomplished today. Like, I came out here in my she shed and I was like, yes, so I kind of like that. Now that's not for everybody though. So I'm not saying that's for everybody, but how we did it was we had a clear discussion. And I was like, what did you see when you were growing up? And this is what I saw, and this is what I like to do. Or is that okay? Is that what you want? Because if it's not what you want, then maybe we don't need to do this.
What you got? Go ahead.
Do I pick, or do you pick?
You can pick. There's no problem. You can pick.
I want to hear from Naraya, because did I say your name right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
To be honest, I never, in my household, my mom was married. She got remarried, so she was married. I had a stepdad. I didn't like that relationship. It didn't hold anything that I thought, that I knew that I wanted. I didn't want the interactions that they had. It was not a good example for me. So I think I went to the other end of the spectrum on that. And my guideline that I use is scripture, right? Like, what does God want me to do? Because I started off as a 5%er. So I was going into this whole marriage as a 5%er. He was a 5%er, and it's like God and earth and all of this. So it kind of, it was, that's where my foundation started. But then as I evolved and I got into the word, I realized that there are clear defined roles. And I was okay with that. By nature, I just like to nurture. Like, I love being a mom. I loved raising my kids. I love making dinner, and then he eats it, and then he tells me how good it is. So I'm with you. I love all of the domesticated stuff. So because I didn't have that example, I really had to lean on, what did the scripture say I was supposed to do? How am I supposed to act? How am I supposed to dress? How am I supposed to be a mom? So I'm good with tradition. My son, he's 28 now, and he's a traditional man as well. So his wife, she doesn't work. She takes care of the kids. And, I go to work. I don't have that luxury, but he's able to let her stay home and take care of the kids. And I love tradition, man. I do. I love knowing that this is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I want to do that to the best of my ability, because I love when my husband is proud of me. I love when he looks at me and tells me a good job. A lot of women call me on social media. They call me a pick me, a mammy, because they say I look for validation. But I do like being validated by my husband that I did something that made him happy. And I'm with that. And I'm okay with that.
That's what's up. Who you got going? Looking for validation, right? And it's dependent upon who's it coming from, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I just say something? I think that's okay. I think both.
Can you say something then start?
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Like,
I stopped.
you know you can.
I was just piggybacking off of what she was saying. Like,
Yeah.
I think everyone need, especially when this is your spouse, everyone needs validation in the sense of, I know people hate using the word validation or whatever, but it is what it is. Like, everybody wants the reassurance, validation, whichever word you want to choose, that you are on the right page, that you're serving in the right way. So like Humble Dad was saying, if my thing is, rubbing a head, but he's rubbing, and I'm rubbing his feet or whatever it was. If I'm doing the opposite of the things that he needed, I would not know that unless he lets me know, right? So when I'm on that right page or vice versa, I think everyone likes to hear the appreciation and a recognition of that, especially a man. Like, babe, you're being a great husband. I appreciate these things that you're doing for me. They want to be acknowledged as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Everybody needs to know, like, want a data boy every now and again
Sure.
to reaffirm that you're doing a great job.
Yep. Translation. I want to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Ryan. There's a reason why we have roles. You know what I mean? How can I say this? I'm going to give you guys an example. As the man of the house, the husband's role is very, very intentional as to how he wants his house run. You see what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, if your wife cooks dinner, whatever, you make sure that your children give thanks to your wife because she did what she did. You see what I'm saying? You want to develop in your children an attitude of gratitude. And not only that, once the dinner has been completed, you want to make sure that they have the opportunity to get some responsibility as well and say, hey, mom, you cook dinner, we're going to wash the dishes as children. You know what I'm saying? And then that way dad can take care of mom and make sure whatever it is she needs to do, while the children learn a skill. You give them a little bit of responsibility along the way. And as the dad, you come back and check and see if, the dishes are cleaned properly. Because if not, you have to go back and wash them because, you got to get kids started the right way. And they don't necessarily do it, the right way the first time. But you always want to make sure that as the leader of the household, you're teaching everybody in the household to respect one another's efforts. You want to respect everybody's opinion. And you want to make sure that you give thanks to those who are actually doing for you in that household. So as the leader of the household, you want to make sure you tell your woman thank you. As setting the attitude for gratitude, you want to tell your kids thank you. You know what I'm saying? So you get them in the habit of doing that. So when your kids grow up in the world, they'll be able to have that same attitude. So when people come into their life, it's not one of those situations where they're entitled to someone's presence. And I think today's atmosphere speaks to what's going on today. Nobody really thanks people for being in their presence. It's always you're entitled to that person's presence. It's like you're supposed to do this for me, and they don't have to do nothing. You see what I'm saying? So what it does, it internalizes, it keeps people engaged in your child's life, and it helps them develop a network. So it helps your child to be a better person that actually draws from the network to make them a better person, to get different information from different places. Now, with that being said, I think a lot of times, sometimes women don't look at cooking as an opportunity to teach. Sometimes when you have children, you can say, hey, look, why don't we make a schedule of what we're going to cook, this week? Now, you guys had too much beef this week. That's not good for your diet. Let's see what we can do to get fish and get the kids involved and say, hey, look, what goes with fish? You see what I'm saying? And get them involved in the aspect of taking control of their nutrition as well. Because as you know, we have a bad habit in our community of being overweight, diabetes, those type of things. So if we take something as important as cooking and turn it into a skill where we actually take an active responsibility of our bodies, then that would actually allow us to live longer, to pass on more information, and to elevate us as a people over time. So sometimes we may think something as mundane as cooking is not a necessary skill, but if you take it and you blow it up and you look at exactly what you're doing at it, it is a very needed, vital thing that we do every day. Not only that, it ties into physical needs. It also ties into economic needs because it's always easier to cook and eat in. So that's an economic benefit. And then once you have that money left over, say, hey, what can we do to save money or invest it somewhere else? So there's always a stepping stone that you can leave from one thing to the next, but all roles are important. But it's up to us to let our spouse know why it's important and how it fits into the grand scheme of your family's direction. That's why it's always important for the man to make sure that he has a clear vision and he involves everybody in that vision so they get the buy-in.
That's good.
And I'm going to go with Ebony next. I want to hear what she has to say.
So I'm going to go back to when Naraya said validation from her husband and people call you a pick-me. First of all, how you a pick-me? You married. Like, why everybody got to be pick-me because I have to serve or submit to a man? My man. I'm not no pick-me when I'm submitting to my man, your husband. Like these little girls on social media, my God. But anyway, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with you getting validation or wanting or loving validation from your husband. As a matter of fact, it ain't even called validation. Validation has gotten a bad rep because a lot of girls are looking for validation on social media by showing their ass. But in actuality, validation is a good thing. So I'm so sorry that it has gotten the bad rap that it has. Anyway, I want to first respond to that. Get that out of the way. Okay, and so speaking again, I'm going back a little bit in the conversation. I am a traditional woman. So I have, my mother has been taken care of, you know, in every sense of the word. We're not just talking about money here. I have been taken care of by my parents. I have lived a very blessed life, and I'm blessed for the life that I have lived, and it's just who I am at this point. I love anything that has to do with the home, making it pretty, making it safe. I like my house to just be a vibe. Like I don't even like going outside because you create a vibe in your home of warmth and nurture, and you just want to be there, you know. And so anything that contributes to that is where I'm at. Cooking. When I was married, baby, I made, you know, homemade biscuits on Saturday morning when I made breakfast. I made my own pasta, like fresh pasta, like that. Anything in the kitchen with the apron on, that was me. So I'm a traditional woman, and I believe every sense of the word, and I like it that way. And any man that I date, hopefully that aligns with what he wants. Like Naraya said, you do have to have that conversation and make sure it aligns. If it does not, no, maybe that was Naraya. Could have been Mariah. Is that Mariah? Miss Jamie. Okay. Sorry about that. And so we have to have that conversation. If that's not something that he wants or it doesn't align with his values, well, then maybe we just won't be able to continue. But that is me, traditional woman.
That's what's up. So who hasn't went? Miss Tamia, go ahead. What you got? How are roles established?
This is a good one for me because my husband and I didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have married parents. Oh, not the thunder getting me again. I'm sorry.
You can't hear it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. We didn't come from traditional households. We came from single parent households. I did have my grandma who both of my grandmothers married. I watched them, but they didn't, like I had a whole conversation with Jamie. They did not intentionally teach me how to be a wife, but I am so traditional. So I love to cook, clean. I pick the kids up from school. I go to my son's schools for the events. I work inside I found my way inside his building. I take part in a lot of things, even at my young age. I really do enjoy like the domestic side of living. I feel safe here. I like it here. I mean, I can speak to the women in their 20s and what that looks like right now, and it's scary on those streets. Very, 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 very scary. I am not mad at all. And I'm not out here extremely fighting to be an alpha woman inside my household. I am totally okay with being a pick-me to my man. I would love to be a damsel in distress. Yes, I'm working on it. I didn't start that way though. So I did not start that way. I very much started in, I want to help. I want to help. I thought like me wanting to be proactive so much was good. Like, oh, let me help. Let me go get this job. Let me go do this, go that, go that. And then he didn't have all of like the babe sit down, like that man in his life that shows how to tell a woman to sit down. He kind of just shut down and was like, all right, you want to do it all, you do it. And we had to learn the hard way. But now, 5 years married, oh, if I see a wood chip, I'll trip over it and I'll fall. You do it. You do it.
That's
I
right,
made pasta.
That's
I made
right.
pasta tonight. I said,
That's
I
awesome.
can't open it. I can't open the pasta sauce. Can you open it, please? So I'm stepping into let me be a woman, let me be a wife. And that was established honestly through hardship, but we get it. We read books and we found ourselves in who we should be in God. We got baptized together. So that's how it all just started to make sense.
That's what's up. Am I having double feed? I'm not sure what that is. Go ahead, Chicago Real.
I'm floored, man. Number one, thank you for hosting this panel, sisters.
Well, you talking about me, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna say something nice before I get out of here tonight to you.
That's why I was surprised by it. That's why I asked.
Sisters, it is so freaking dope to hear y'all expressing y'all self. I'm floored, fam. Like, it is absolutely amazing to hear y'all talk the way that y'all talking about being in your roles and loving being the woman that you are and just being as dope as you are, man. I'm serious, because Humble Dad know in this space, Miss Taken know too, in the space that we tend to be in on YouTube, I'm saying, people would have you thinking that there are no good human beings that exist on the earth whatsoever anymore. Everybody out here thotting and bopping, and the dudes is out here trying to slang every way to Sunday. You know what I'm saying? And the heifers out here ain't doing nothing but throwing the bike. You understand what I'm saying? So when y'all talk about, I love being in this space. I understand my role in this space, and by virtue, you're saying I understand my purpose. That's so dope. So I appreciate y'all, and I just wanted to shower y'all with every bit of praise that I could muster up and give y'all all the flowers, right? Okay, cool. So now to answer the question, Humble Dad, how are roles established? I love what Naraya said. Hey, I came from a different background. I was a 5%er. My husband was a 5%er. Woo, woo, woo. So when we got together, I went to the Word to learn, right? That's dope. What I also think is another way that roles are established is based on the covenant. The covenant is exchange of strengths for weaknesses, right? So that's whether you're a believer or not, right? Anybody can understand that. If you're entering into the covenant of marriage, if you have a covenant agreement and you understand that it's an exchange of strengths for weaknesses, then you're not relegated to what people traditionally think of. This person has to do this. Like, some people think the man should handle all the money all the time, and if you don't, you ain't no alpha man. What you mean you come home and bring your paycheck to the woman? See, that's what got us here. Nah, man. Hey, if she's a CPA, if she's a CFO, you understand what I'm saying? If she's a bank teller, I don't care.
She good with money. How about that one?
Right. Let her handle the bread. A lot of this stuff with brothers is ego and pride, but if you take it back to just the basic covenant, strengths, weaknesses, I'm bridging her gaps, she's bridging mine. That's how we establish our roles. Well, at least in our house, that's how we establish our role.
That's what's up. Did anybody want to add? Okay. It's good. I said
I was good because I didn't answer this in terms of roles. I didn't.
Listen, we just been knowing each other for a moment, so don't bother me. Okay, you go ahead.
It was kind of like I'm actually in agreement with Rilla, and partly with Naraya. No, to Maya. When she was saying when she initially started, they didn't have anything established. So same thing. When me and my husband first met, I was 18. So I didn't have standards. I didn't have, even though I grew up with both of my parents, I knew that I didn't want my marriage to be that. That was the example that I had in regards to that. And I grew up in a church, which, it speaks a lot. My parents ended up divorcing, but I also had a great example in my grandparents as well. And I knew that I was like, okay, that's more in line with what I wanted to be, but didn't necessarily develop or have the skill set for that. So it was kind of learning along the way. And so we kind of got into a position of what Rilla was saying his marriage is. So things that I was strong in, I kind of took the lead on in those things, and things that he took the lead on. It just made natural sense. But one thing I can appreciate, and I don't know if anyone have experienced this, is that a lot of times when you get caught up in the role, like this is your role, it doesn't leave a lot of times room sometimes with other things, especially if you're stuck on this is what a man does, this is what a woman is supposed to do. Because one of the things that I enjoy doing, and this is like I got this from my dad growing up, is that he was a fixer. He fixed things around a house all the time. I was always interested in stuff like that. So I was with him, helping him do things with the car or fixing things around, something break in the house, I'm patching up. Like those are things that I truly enjoy doing. And so when we get into roles and people, my husband like, oh no, my wife fixed that. Like it. And I'm so glad that he's secure in his manhood, that he could care less. But when you're, I guess, narrowly defining what people roles are in a marriage, it can kind of create conflict if you have that same mindset. But this is my personality and I enjoy doing it. You say, no, you're not supposed to do that. You a woman, relax. That would create tension because it's truly something that I enjoy doing. I'm laying tile, I'm putting in new toilets. Like I do all of those things, and he allows me the space to do that without him feeling like it's impeding on his manhood or his role as a man. Now, if certain things that I would need help with, of course, he'll, be there to jump in. Like, babe, can you move this? It's too heavy for me, stuff like that. But I readily agree with what Rilla was saying in terms of whoever has the strength is a strength-based marriage. So whoever has the strength in that specific area, you go ahead and lead that and I'll follow. I have no issue with it.
That's what's up. I think that's good to know that. I think it was a reel or a meme or something. It was a pastor that was referring to marriage as, people think that the person's going to come to them with all the answers, meaning that you complete me. That thing they say, you complete me. Well, to some degree, but not holistically, because you're two flawed individuals trying to make something happen, right? And so with that part about strengths and weaknesses and looking at it as a team, I think that's the part that for me, I mess up on sometimes, right? Getting caught up in, how was I as a husband before this marriage, right? I can't necessarily be the same as I once was, right? I have to make sure that I'm a husband for Kendra, right? What is it that sparks her interest? What is it the thing that makes her excited, or how am I serving her well? And one of the things that I've learned from her is how to it goes back to food, really. I learned how to grill. Like, that's something I ain't never did before in my life. You feel me? And she was like, you don't know how to do that. And I felt really weird not to know how to do it, because my previous marriage, I did everything else. I had the traditional, right? I was the breadwinner, and Jen, she handled the household, right? And so coming into this marriage, I'm just like, I'm lost as it relates to trying to cook, but she showed me how. And now I'm dope. That's what I'm saying. Right. All right. So that's my humility. Really. Okay. Just so you. So I think it's very important for people to talk about what those weaknesses are and what are your strengths as well. I think somebody talked about, okay, when you were a kid, how did that look for you as it relates to marriage? Well, y'all didn't have it, so then what can we do? We don't want to learn from osmosis. We don't want to learn by trial and error, because that's how marriages break up. You know, on average, marriages are they break up within the first 2 years, and then around year 7. And I looked at this and I was like, trying to figure out why. And one of the reasons why is because of communication, as well as staleness, and then new responsibilities come into play, and that's around the kids. Okay. And so that part is very important as it relates to how we're going to raise the kids and who is the one that gets to say in it. I think that's a conversation to be had. But I wanted to transition to what we're talking about. But the question that I had was, since we're talking about younger people, what was it? And you may be offended. Why do single people not look for the fresh marriages? The reason why I asked that question is because that's what's going out that's what you see on social media in several different places. And my algorithm has a lot of different things, because I'm searching for the good, the bad, the indifferent. And so I'm seeing a lot of individuals talking negatively about marriage, right? And the thing about it is the covenant is not the problem. It's the individuals not representing and doing the covenant correctly. And I liken it to business. Many of y'all know I have my degree in management, my doctorate degree in management. And one of the things that I saw that Black people have a hard time doing is sustaining a business. However, it doesn't stop them from going into a business the fastest out of any ethnicity in the United States. So you're telling me that you're willing to go into a business that's 90% going to fail and not find out what it is to be sustainable. But then you come to this point of being in a marriage, but you're more likely to have a successful marriage than you are to have a thriving business. So why not look for both, right? If you want to have a successful business, why not get yourself around people that do it well? And if you want to have a successful marriage, why not get yourself around those that do it well? So my question to the panel is, why do single people not look for the fresh marriages? I think Ebony got her finger on the trigger. Oh, she said, hold on. I thought she had her finger on the trigger, boy.
Oh, no. Still listening. Go ahead.
You want to answer that one?
What was it again?
Why do single people not look for the fresh marriages?
Single people look for fresh marriages.
They do not. Why don't they?
You mean look for freshness in a person to get married to? Because they can't.
No, like the whole title is about how can you keep the marriage fresh, right?
Yes.
So I'm asking, why don't single people look for the good marriages? The marriages that are thriving, the marriages that are sustainable, the marriages like Naraya, you know what I'm saying? The marriages like Mistaken, you know what I'm saying? And all those that have one. Why do you think they look for those?
Like as an example, right? Like a frame.
Yes, ma'am.
Got you. So sorry about that. Thank you for the clarification. I think I may be the only single person here. So I think, no, Miss Jamie. Okay. So this definitely is a question for me. I honestly do. I have some very good examples of marriage in my family. Honestly, I am the black sheep. Unwed mothers and broken families and single motherhood is not a curse that is on my family at all. I'm the only one that I can think of at the moment. So I have lots of good examples of healthy marriages, and I do use those as my blueprint and my framework. And if the marriage is not going to be healthy, I'm not getting into it, especially being that I've been there once. I've been married, I've been divorced. And so at this point, if it ain't good, I ain't having it. So I don't know why somebody who is single would look to another type of example to frame their life around, because I look for healthy examples personally. But maybe social media, they looking at, love and hip hop. My sister is really into love and hip hop. She don't watch the show, but she watches all the little clips, and she said it's so good. So it could be like the social media is kind of being forced down our throats, and that chaotic love, that struggle love is kind of, I think, what they're selling these younger generations. So possibly that, I submit.
Okay, that's what's up. Who you got going next?
Any, mini, miny, Miss Naraya.
Oh man, of course.
I'm so sorry.
I think there's a lack of examples, positive examples, as to why they're not looking for it. Marriage has been made to seem like it is oppressive. There's no benefit to it. And why do I want to be in something where somebody is telling me what to do and is in charge of my life? Because I'm not going to submit. I'm not going to do these things. And I think they feel like they're going to be restricted or they're going to lose themselves in it. I think social media, again, plays a big part in it with everything that's being perpetuated, that it's an entitlement kind of vibe going on right now. They understand that marriage may take work that I'm not willing to put in for it. It can be a number of things, but I think the biggest thing would be there's not a lot of examples for a lot of folks to say, okay, this is what I want to base my life on. I used the negative example and turned it into a positive, but a lot of people can't do that.
I got you. Who you got going next?
Tamia.
I can definitely attest. Like, I had this conversation. A friend of mine visited me about 2 weeks ago, and she's 26, and we're best friends. We're sorority sisters. We did all of college together, and she visited me. I haven't been to New York in 3 years, so she hasn't seen me in the flesh in 3 years. And the first thing she said is, "I don't know how you do it," in a good way. But she stayed at my house, so she saw how how I live my day to day, which is like a traditional marriage. So we wake up, I get the kids ready for school. My husband is getting ready for work. We come home, and she's like, I don't even know how to think of what I want for dinner. So a lot of people in my age group are stuck in like only thinking for themselves, and they're afraid or intimidated by the weight of like what comes with stepping into that next experience of life. And not that because they're stuck in their childhood, because this sister is 27, but she's also getting her master's to be a superintendent. She's very successful, and she even notices that she's in like a high sense of independence, and she wants to relinquish that a bit. But she definitely also knows like, oh, this is a lot. There's not much examples out there. All that you see, like, what are our examples right now? Sexy Red. A lot of these rappers that do not, female rappers, female icons that do not honor their bodies, honor their roles, their values. If you do see a marriage, you're seeing how they're getting divorced. You're seeing their hardship. You're hearing about abuse. All of my whole generation, we're on our phones. We're on our phones. That's where we are. We're on Google. We're on YouTube. We are on TikTok, hearing everybody's story, their 50-part story about their marriage. And I guarantee you it's not positive. So unless you had it in your house, or you had a close reach idea, a cousin, an uncle, a grandparent, you're like, oh, I'm good here. Like, I'm actually okay. I'm actually okay not thinking of the dinner every day. I'm actually okay, like, not trusting these guys. And there's also what I'm hearing in the dating pool, there's a lot of guys that are presenting themselves to be great candidates as husbands. But then suddenly there's this big switch up. Like, I don't know what it is, like whether they get them on a date and it's not even always like, oh, they get sex from them or anything, but it just like they present themselves very well, and somewhere down the line it's like it was a wolf in sheep's clothing. So a lot of a lot of lack of trust. And then I'm also seeing a lot of females that think they're going to be young forever, to be very honest. Like, that's as blatantly as I can put it. Like, they're stuck. I have friends that are like that I was thinking of this week. I was like, they think they're going to be young forever. And I don't think a lot of us notice that we're not in our early 20s anymore. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to push the gas for them, but I know there's a lack of example. And then there's a lot of fear and a lot of comfort that's keeping the single people that at least are in their 20s or early 30s not looking or seeking healthy marriages. Also, a lot of people are not embedded in Christ and in their word. So there's a lot of ignorance as well. So they think that dating's okay. They think the sex is okay. They think going outside is okay and doing all this other stuff is fine, and that they have time. Again, that they're young, that they aren't tarnishing themselves. So I think it's just going to be difficult if you're not rooted in your word. Then you don't really understand the value of marriage. That's just how I see it. And if you don't understand the value of marriage, you're not rushing it. So you're kind of just like, oh, I'm not really missing out on nothing. So yeah.
That's what. Who you got going next?
I'd like to hear from Lost in Translation.
Thank you, Tamia. Humble Dad, earlier you talked about Black businesses failing at a 90% clip. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you
I'll
want
say
to
it
know?
like this. I'll say it more specifically. It's like this. We get into business the fastest,
Mhm.
and then we fail the fastest. And the average is 90% in the second year.
Okay. Would you like to know why?
I already know. I had to do the study. Go ahead.
Okay. Because we suck at research and development. Think about it. How much effort do we, how much effort how much time, money do we spend in research and development? Some of the most successful companies on this planet spend a whole lot of money on things that will probably never come to fruition. But when they do come to fruition, what they need to do, it is a successful product. They have focus groups. They also have an effective management team. Normally what happens is when you're on a management team, they'll have the objectives that say, okay, these are your objectives. Okay. And you agree upon those. And then at the end, the manager asks you, is there anything that's keeping you from making these objectives? And at that point, you'll make a plan on what needs to happen. So if you do need help, you'll already have it. The problem with us in relationships is that we don't have that conversation. You see what I'm saying? We don't talk to each other and say, okay, here are the roles. Is there anything hindering you from accomplishing this role? Whether it may be assistance in one area or it may be guidance in another. That is something that we do not do. We don't have an agreed upon, set of rules, and then we don't do check-ins and say, hey, is there anything keeping you from doing this? Or do you need assistance? Or do you need to elicit some type of help? Are you missing some type of knowledge or wisdom that you don't see? Those are the reasons why a lot of relationships fail. And I think that's another reason why most singles don't look at healthy marriages as a guidepost. Number one, I don't subscribe to the excuse that they don't see it, because they can find anything on this internet that they want to. You see what I'm saying? They can figure out how to start a business. They can figure out what's coming on Love and Hip Hop. They can figure all this other stuff out. My thing is this: you figure out what it is, what you want to figure it out. If it's something that you want to see, it's just like changing channels. You know what I'm saying? You can Google anything you want to do. If you want to Google a healthy marriage, you do that. But my thing is this: what are you doing with your time frame that you're not aware of? A lot of times when I have a conversation with some of my younger female friends, they'll sit up there and they'll watch stuff like Instagram and stuff from the spiritual world and all these other places, gossip sites. And I have to stop them and ask them, how is that making you a better wife for your future? I say, anytime you ever catch me, I'm actually either having a conversation about being a better husband or learning things that I don't learn, or being around people that I don't know to be a better husband. So I'm making use of my time. So my thing is this: as a people, we have to be aware of how much time we're spending and who we're spending it around. And we have to ask ourselves, ultimately, does this action help me become a better spouse, a better person in a relationship? And I think a lot of times people like to use other people's drama as an excuse not to move forward out of fear. They will sit up there and say, well, if it didn't work for them, it ain't gonna work for me. You see what I'm saying? And it absolves them from the responsibility of actually doing something versus actually creating an action plan and say, hey, these are the areas I'm lacking in. These are the resources that I need. And these are the plans that I need to execute. Here's the time frame that needs to be executed in. These are the people that I need to seek for wisdom and guidance. If you do that, you don't have time to dilly-dally. Your time frame is filled. So you don't have enough time to spend on foolishness. So I think when people use the excuse for not having healthy marriages, not being able to see them, I think that's an excuse, because if you can see the bad, you can see the good. My question is, Do you see the value in being married? Because if you see the value in being married, then you would overlook all the excuses and do what it takes. It'll be just like if you go mining for gold. Yeah, you got to bust a whole bunch of rocks up. Yeah, you have to get your sluice box out in the whole water or whatever. But my thing is, at the end of the day, when you get that gold in your pan and it starts flashing, you be like, yeah, that was worth it right there. So at the end of the day, it's about whether or not you see value in being married. And if so, what is it? And if not, why not?
That's good. That's why you be having all them clips, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, because you're able to get the points and make sure that they're very clearly articulated, and then you do a very good summary. So good stuff onto you. Has everybody gone that wants to go?
I think Jamie. Did you go, Jamie?
Did you want to go, Jamie?
No, I don't have anything to add to it.
Y'all know
Okay.
I'm about to do something.
Oh, do you?
Only reason is because I actually had a conversation with, because I teach high school, in high school as well. So having conversations among like that age group, from what I gather, it's difficult to find healthy marriages in terms of having interaction day to day. Like, Lost in Translation was saying, oh, if you want to learn, you got to Google it. But, I mean, at that age, that's not really something that, most kids are going to be Googling, right? But one of the things that was stated was the idea of marriages being based in religion, right? Christianity, so to speak, which is most from what they heard, and they're not in church. Those are things that are not happening. More people are turning away from the church instead of being in the church. So for them, it is, I can't relate to that, right? So they don't have the spiritual grounding for marriage. And so looking for a marriage that's more in line with their belief system, whatever that is difficult for them to find. And they consider the religious aspect of what they hear marriage is to be outdated, right? And so for them, that's why they're like, I'm good, especially if everything is based on the religious aspect and they are not, in the church. So my answer to that was, well, even if you weren't, in the church or things like that, what would you consider a basis of a good marriage? And honestly, a lot of the responses are things that I think that are ideal, that align with church, like, oh, well, I still want to be able to do the things that I enjoy doing, right? I think in church, and this is my experience, I can't speak for anybody else, I remember feeling everything was about rules and regulations and restrictions in the church that I grew up in, right? So as a kid hearing that growing up, and then when you go into a marriage, it kind of sounds like the same thing, right? But luckily I had great example in my grandparents to see what that looked like, which looked totally different than a household that I grew up in. So I think it's more along the lines of not having those examples, and then not having a foundation within, religion, to have some kind of guide, is that they're left to kind of figure things out on their own, which is why I think a lot of the marriages end up in divorce, is because even if you're not religious, having those conversations about expectations can still occur. And I don't think those conversations happen. It's like what Lost in Translation was saying about a business. It's like, I'm going to just jump in, get my feet wet, and learn as I go along. And then when it doesn't suit me, it's not like going the way that I anticipated or wanted, I'll just I'll leave. And I think that's what is happening.
That's good. That's good. I really appreciate y'all time, because you can't get it back, right? You can't get the time back, and it's valuable. I think that's what Ms. Taken was saying. So I'm appreciative of your responses, your answers, and just you being here is a testament to the vision that I have for the platform to be just that much different than everybody else, to actually be solution based. That's why I asked the questions that I ask, and why we have the dialogue that we have. And I think it's important for people not to just tell somebody because they don't necessarily have experience in something, that they're not capable of telling you how to be better at something. Because if you have done the research, you are more than qualified to be able to give somebody a particular take on something. So that's why I ask people whether they're married, divorced, single, or whatever the case may be, or whatever their thoughts are about marriage, because I think that the conversation needs to be had, and we can all learn from one another, and we can build better marriages. I'll end it like this. What brought this to man, God does some interesting things to let you see some things. When I first started teaching in my second year, I just thought about this. My second year of teaching, I was teaching resource math, and these students, with them, they were special ed, but they weren't slow. Like they just had a low learning for math. Okay, and so I'm in the class, and it's my second year, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I tell the person that's in charge of the special ed department, I said, what I would like to do is to be able to see every math teacher in this school. And I just need, or I say I need to observe them to see what they do and see how what I'm doing wrong. And she said, we've never done that before. Now, this was in East Texas, and those schools have been around forever, right? And for her to say that, she's like, but I think that's a great idea. So let's do that. So my second year in teaching, I was able to observe about in between 15 and 20 teachers. Okay. And Ms. Taken, to be able to do that will definitely change some things. And anybody that's in any profession, if you go look at 20 people and see how they're doing something, you're going to pick up a lot of things. And from that particular day of me observing those people, allowed me to take bits and pieces from them to become an exceptional teacher. It took about my fourth year for me to be a good teacher. And then by year 7, I was a master teacher, right? And so as a result, I can say, okay, that's why I wanted my panel to be like that. That's what that is. Everybody has a different viewpoint of how a relationship and a marriage should go. And when you all give your perspective, it helps somebody else to build theirs. And that's my take. Before we get out of here, let people know where they can find you. And we're going to start with you, Miss Jamie, and then we're going to work around.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Jamie Radiance Forehead 7. All the time. I post all the time. So.
Hey, yeah, we did. Hey, on Friday, she's supposed to be releasing me and her conversation that we had. That's what she's saying. So I'm going to hold her to it.
It's coming out the first half of your testimony. Y'all do need to check that out, though. So it was very, very well informative. It helped my son a lot. So I'm very much appreciative of you doing that.
For sure. Lost in translation on you.
Thank you, sir. You guys can find me here on Mondays on Humble Dash channel. Also on Sundays on my channel, Lost in Translation Podcast. Also on Tuesday on Black Men Unfiltered on Flipping Tables with BMU and Lit. And also you can find me on Black Men Unfiltered on Friday nights at 8:30 most of the time. That's when we're here. And also you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok as well too. So I'm pretty much expanding the marketplace as we speak. So thank you, Humble Dad, once again for having me. Great show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My homie, Chicago Willa.
Yeah, you can find me somewhere. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Humble Dad Legacy, HUMBLEDAD Legacy. If you want to send me a cash app, $ Humble Dad 78. I like it when you like it, right? So hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to this channel.
Hey, appreciate that, homie. You always do that. One love always. Miss Taken, on you.
You can follow me at I Am Mistaken on Instagram, and I am on A Chic Critique on Fridays around between 9:30 and 10 o'clock on Fridays. That's it.
That's what's up. Thank you. Tamia.
Hello, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok at The Coach Mia, so TheCoachMiah. And then you can also find me on YouTube at Tamia Luster. Thanks for having me, Humble Dad.
Absolutely. Thank you. And not last but not least, Miss Naraya.
You can find me on Instagram at Naraya Shiloh, TikTok at Lady Naraya, and right here on YouTube at the Naraya Shiloh Podcast.
That's what's up. Thank everybody. It's been real. It's been fun. Until next time, we out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see them about to impact the world.